here is what no one ever says clearly enough. When a woman is craving a kiss, she is not waiting passively. She is actively, deliberately, and with considerable creativity engineering the conditions under which that kiss becomes possible, while simultaneously hoping she never has to do anything obvious enough to be called engineering. She is building the moment. She is clearing the obstacles. She is sending signals so specific that behavioral scientists have documented and categorized them. And she is doing all of this while maintaining the completely plausible position that she was just having a normal conversation. This video covers 3 of those signals, the 3 that are most specific to the kiss-wanting state specifically, most distinct from general attraction, and most consistently overlooked by men who are close enough to the moment to act on them and don't. Let's begin with something the research on kissing actually confirms, because yes, kissing has been seriously researched, and the findings are genuinely illuminating. A study published in the journal Evolutionary Psychology found that for women, a first kiss functions as a significant mate assessment event. More than just a physical expression of interest, it serves as a critical data point in evaluating compatibility, chemistry, and long-term potential. Which means that when a woman is craving a kiss, she is not simply responding to attraction in a casual, low-stakes way. She is standing at the edge of something that carries genuine weight for her, something she has invested emotional energy in anticipating. And here is what this means behaviorally. The anticipation of a significant event, particularly one that carries both desire and vulnerability, produces specific, consistent, neurologically generated responses. The nervous system doesn't just wait quietly, it communicates. Through the body, through the behavioral changes that occur in the approach to the moment, through patterns that the research on nonverbal communication has documented with enough consistency to be called reliable. Behavioral scientist Timothy Perper, whose naturalistic observation studies of courtship behavior are foundational in the field, found that in the vast majority of cases where a kiss eventually occurred, the woman had been signaling readiness for an average of several minutes before the kiss happened. The signals were present, they were consistent, and in many of the cases Perper observed, the man either didn't notice them or noticed them too late. There are 3 signals this video focuses on specifically. Not the broad category of attraction signals, those have been covered extensively. These 3 are specific to the kiss-wanting state. They appear when the wanting has become specific and present, rather than general and future. And the third one is the most counterintuitive of the 3. It looks from the outside like the conversation is winding down. It is the exact opposite of that. By the time we get there, you'll understand immediately why it's been misread as many times as it has. The first signal is this: she becomes unusually aware of her own mouth. This signal is operating at a level that is almost entirely below conscious awareness, and its connection to the specific state of craving a kiss is both neurologically precise and thoroughly documented. Here is the mechanism. When the brain is fixated on a specific physical experience it desires, any physical experience, not just kissing, it engages in a well-documented process that neuroscientists call motor simulation. The brain begins to neurologically rehearse the anticipated experience. The neural pathways associated with that experience activate in preparation. And this activation produces physical expressions, particularly in the area of the body most centrally involved in the anticipated experience. For kissing, that area is the mouth. And the motor simulation of an anticipated kiss produces specific, involuntary, and observable behaviors in the oral region. She moistens her lips, not because they are dry, because the neural activity associated with anticipating a kiss produces increased awareness of and attention to the lips. She touches the corner of her mouth briefly, or runs a finger along her lower lip, or brings her hand to her face in a way that draws her own attention and attention in the room to her mouth. She may press her lips together in a specific way, or her lip movements during speech may become more deliberate, more present, in a way that is distinct from their ordinary quality. Research from the field of embodied cognition, specifically from psychologist Lawrence Shapiro at the University of Wisconsin, whose work on how mental states are expressed through the body, has produced some of the most practically significant findings in social neuroscience, establishes that the body does not wait for an experience to happen before it begins preparing for it. Preparation begins in anticipation, and that preparation is visible. Here is what makes this signal particularly significant in the context of reading the moment. It is almost entirely outside her conscious control. She is not deciding to touch her lip. She is not choosing to moisten it. Her brain is running its simulation, and the body is expressing what the brain is doing, which means this signal, unlike many behavioral signs of attraction, has no performance layer, no management, no social presentation. It is the body telling the truth before the mind has decided to. When you notice this, when the attention to her own mouth increases, when the lip touching or moistening appears with the specific quality of something happening rather than something performed, the brain running the simulation has already decided what it wants. The body is rehearsing. The moment is already there in the neurology. The only remaining question is whether the physical reality catches up. The second signal is this: she removes every barrier between you without announcing it. This signal requires careful attention because it operates through subtraction rather than addition. It is not about what she does, it is about what she stops doing and what she quietly removes from the space between the two of you. When a woman is craving a kiss and is in the specific state of present, immediate wanting rather than general attraction, her nervous system begins doing something that attachment researchers call proximity optimization. Not just seeking closeness, optimizing it, reducing every physical and social obstacle that stands between the current state and the desired one. This looks like a series of small, individually unremarkable adjustments. She puts down whatever she was holding, her drink, her phone, anything that occupied her hands or created a physical layer between her and the moment. She adjusts her position so that there are no angles between her body and his, no crossed arms, no turned shoulders, nothing that the body uses as social architecture to maintain comfortable distance. She addresses the environmental obstacles, the table between them, the physical gap in where they're sitting, by finding reasons to reduce them, moving to sit beside rather than across, shifting position to close distance that had been casually maintained. Anthropologist Edward Hall's research on proxemics, the study of how humans use and manage physical space in social interaction, established that the intimate zone, defined as 0 to 18 inches of distance, is reserved for people whose presence the nervous system has cleared as safe and desired. And the movement into and maintenance of that zone, when it happens without a practical social justification, is a direct behavioral expression of what the nervous system wants. But the barrier removal goes beyond physical distance. There is a social layer too. When the wanting for a kiss is present and specific, the conversation itself begins to shift. The external topics, the things being discussed about other people, other places, other times, start to give way to something that has no clear subject except the present moment. The conversation becomes less about content and more about contact. Less about information exchange and more about the specific quality of being in this space with this person right now. This is the social barrier coming down, and it is as significant as the physical one. Here is the version of this signal that is most consistently missed. She stops multitasking. In ordinary social interaction, attention is distributed to the conversation, to the environment, to the phone that might light up, to the social landscape of the room. When the wanting is present, all of that distribution stops. Her attention concentrates. The room disappears. The phone stops existing. Everything except this specific moment and this specific person becomes irrelevant background. The removal of distractions is the removal of barriers, and the removal of barriers is the nervous system preparing for something it has already decided it wants. The third signal is this: she engineers the goodbye into the longest part of the evening. This is the counterintuitive one, the one that has been misread more times than probably any other signal on this list. And the research behind why it appears when it does makes it permanently recognizable once understood. Here is what happens. The moment approaches where the interaction would naturally conclude. The socially normal endpoint arrives, the point where a goodbye would be both appropriate and completely uncontroversial. And instead of ending, something happens that is the behavioral equivalent of pressing pause on reality. She finds one more thing to say, one more question to ask, one more topic that wasn't covered, one more reason to still be here in this specific physical space with this specific person for just a little longer. This is the engineered goodbye. And it is not a coincidence, and it is not running out of things to say. It is the body refusing to leave a moment that it wants to continue in a specific direction. Researcher Dr. Karen Dion at the University of Toronto, whose work on physical attraction and social behavior contributed significantly to understanding how desire shapes social timing, found that the extension of departures, the inability to conclude an interaction that the person wanted to conclude differently, was one of the most consistent behavioral patterns associated with unacted upon romantic desire. The person who wants something to happen before the interaction ends keeps finding reasons the interaction hasn't ended yet. Here is the specific texture of the engineered goodbye that distinguishes it from simply enjoying a conversation. The goodbye itself becomes charged. There is a quality of significance to it that ordinary goodbyes don't carry. The hug lasts slightly longer than it should. The eye contact at the moment of departure holds a beat past the socially standard release point. The final thing she says has a specific quality, not quite conversational, not quite the content of what is said, that communicates something about the moment that neither person has officially acknowledged. Nonverbal communication researcher Albert Mehrabian's findings that only 7% of emotional communication occurs through words is nowhere more visible than in the engineered goodbye. The words being spoken are goodbye. The communication happening underneath them is something completely different, and here is the layer that makes this signal the most significant of the three. The engineered goodbye is the last available moment. She has been sending the first two signals for some time, the motor simulation visible in the awareness of her mouth, the barrier removal visible in the optimization of proximity. Those signals were available earlier. The goodbye is the signal of the final window. And the fact that she is extending it, that she keeps finding reasons the moment hasn't ended yet, is the clearest possible communication that she is still hoping for what she wanted before the moment is gone entirely. The moment is not winding down. It is being held open. Here is what all three of these signals have in common, and why together they form a picture that is impossible to mistake once you know what you're looking at. The mouth awareness is the brain's anticipation made visible. The barrier removal is the nervous system optimizing for the experience it wants. The engineered goodbye is the final window being deliberately held open. None of these signals require mind reading. None of them require guesswork. They are the body communicating in its most honest and least manageable register what the mind has already decided. Research from Timothy Perper's Courtship observation studies found that missed first kisses, moments where the signals were present but the kiss didn't happen, were almost always followed by a significant drop in subsequent interaction quality. Not because the woman was offended exactly, but because the moment that was being engineered, anticipated, and finally extended through the goodbye, when it passes without the thing she was building it for, registers in the nervous system as something that was offered and not received. She wasn't asking out loud, but she was asking, and the asking was visible, in the mouth that was practicing, in the barriers that were removed, in the goodbye that kept not being a goodbye. Now you know what you were looking at. Before this video ends, there is a deeper layer to this entire conversation that most people never address. We covered 3 signs she is craving a kiss. But here is the thing about craving. It exists inside a larger story. The story of whether she has chosen this person entirely or whether she is still in the process of deciding. Because the craving and the choice are related but distinct. You can crave a kiss from someone you haven't fully chosen yet. And you can have fully chosen someone without having had the kiss that confirms it. The video on your screen right now covers the part that comes after the craving, the single behavioral sign that confirms the full choice has been made. Not the attraction, not the wanting. The irreversible, neurologically distinct attachment level choosing that most men miss completely because it looks nothing like everything that came before it. It is called "she already chose you, but you missed the one sign that confirmed it." And it covers the one protection behavior, backed by Helen Fisher's attachment research, Roy Baumeister's self-extension psychology, and David Buss's mate selection findings, that only appears after the decision is done, not building. Done. The 3 signs in this video tell you she wants the kiss. That video tells you she has already made the choice the kiss would confirm. Watch it now.